Afternoon, morning, evening, or night. Ladies and gentlemen, this is quite a serious one. Not a full episode here. This is actually addressing something serious. We mentioned Elden Ring once, so of course we have paragraphs in the comments of how wrong we are. And instead of wasting the cast with addressing it, we figured we'd just upload it in this special one-off video. Let me just put my mic down for this. Right, ready? So normally we'd put this in housekeeping, but Elden Ring players like to write 58 paragraphs in response to what we're saying, so...
They're metagaming the algorithm, okay?
Okay. So let's start with this. We were kind of talking about the invasion system in Elden Ring and our experience with it.
Yes, we should give some context that we've been playing Elden Ring as a group of three. Same level, we're basically progressing through the start of the game. Same time, just, as a group, we're doing everything 3 times, so we get the graces and whatnot. And we've been having a lot of problem with high level people with high level gear attacking and basically using a lot of buffs to insta-kill us, pretty much. And it's been a repeat issue. And we spoke about it. We said what we were experiencing and our feelings on that.
So we specifically annoyed someone called James. I won't say the full name because it just seems mean to just make a whole video about the trilogy of comments.
We're calling out James.
I'll say when I used to invade in Dark Souls 3, ganking was legitimately infuriating because there's a spell I desperately wanted that requires you to win dozens of matches to get it, provided invasions are purely done for the sake of fun and aren't a necessity to achieve any specific questline or item. It'd be fine if it was a little bullshit. My earnest recommendation is to do some invasions of your own. Being invaded is annoying, but what's worse is when you're matched up against people you literally can't win against.
That's no different to having people invade you that you can't win against.
Yeah, how's it worse?
Yeah, it seems to be the same problem.
No, it's better.
At least that's the system working as intended, right?
Winning as an invader should be rare.
Yes.
It should be.
Explain why.
Because, the system, the description Miyazaki gave himself is that the idea of being invaded is that the invader is an extra hard enemy in the game, right?
Yeah.
And it mixes up how you play because of that. When you get these people min-maxing the fuck out of their builds where they are just way more powerful than you.
Yeah.
It breaks. It
does break, it breaks. And James went to continue on, not this James, the commenter James, to say, I tried a quick search to see if there was any particular reason why Alex was having such a hard time with invaders, and from what I've found, there doesn't seem to be any buff applied in terms of health. My best guess is that it's because the matchmaking in terms of levels is really wide, but even that wouldn't explain it fully since it goes both ways. I think it's a case where an invader's level isn't scaled against the level of the summons too, just the host. Maybe Alex just has a bad build or is short of levels compared to Jamie and James. Or maybe it's the weapon upgrade level, who knows.
So with that, we are the same level. We are. There's maybe one level between us. And we kind of all upgrade our weapons around the same point, so we're not using plus 20 weapons in our level.
We're within one level of each other.
Yeah.
They said it's a little annoying that he's calling someone a loser based on literally nothing other than him dying to the guy. There is, as far as I can tell, no power imbalance. You're just bad.
There absolutely is a power imbalance. Because Jamie, you obviously played this when it came out, so you're actually quite far in your solo playthrough, and what they are using is not at the same level as what we are.
The stuff we've come across a lot of the time, because it's not like every time it's terrible.
No, we've had. I would say off the top of my head, there's probably been about 2-3 that have not using these weapons, but they're still significantly higher level because they have stupid amount of health compared to us.
I wouldn't say they're necessarily higher levels, but people that invade want to, because it's inherently imbalanced, right? Because you can only invade someone when they're attempting to co-op, right? So there's an imbalance there already, so how are people going to combat that? Min-maxing. Finding a specific strategy that deals big damage in a short amount of time. Why would people that aren't comfortable with the game, to a strong degree, aren't going to want to put themselves out there and get stomped. So the mindset of an invader is, I want to get as powerful for PvP specifically as I can. So they design a build around that, and then they invade. Right?
And I've once, after I saw this comment and them kind of claiming that we're just like lying or like just making stuff up because we're bad at the game or whatever, I started recording like clips every time we're invaded, just so there's some like footage examples of like how unfair it is, just to hammer that home as to like, yeah, we're not lying.
Yeah, and also this is your first playthrough, Alex. Your first playthrough, James.
To be honest, I'm the only one who's actually never played any time of a Soulsborne game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a miracle I've actually managed to play this much, because I'm not a Souls fan.
And I feel like you never would have gotten into it if it wasn't for the co-op aspect.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then for these people to be coming in, min-maxing, going up against you, who's still figuring shit out and doesn't know the full extent of how the game works.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a power imbalance. It's plain as day.
Because this isn't. We're not in later game areas. When we first talked about this, we were in like the first mini castle.
Yeah.
The first tiny little castle where.
Well, it depends when you go to it, but it's the castle in the bottom right.
Yes.
Corner of the map.
It's a small little castle. There's a few quest stuff there, and it's not It's not like a huge boss area like the first main castle you go to, which is what we're doing now. And it's like we were getting invaded consistently. And all we were trying to do is progress through this, and people were going out of their way to stop us. To sit on stuff for hours so that we would have to Alt F4 just to be able to progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a few more in this chain from James. Hearing the argument about how it's sucky to invade people at the start of the game because they won't know what they're doing and it's an abuse of the system is fair. But what stings is that I've heard the exact opposite mentality coming out with the boys about anything being fair game, specifically in Elden, so long as it lets you beat the game. What do you say to that?
I don't really understand the argument.
Yeah, I don't really
It's
either.
different to... Like, when you're engaging with a game, you're choosing how you interact with that game. When you're engaging with someone else, you then have some control on their experience.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are using bullshit ganky tactics in the early game, you're going to hurt the experience of the game for the person who doesn't even necessarily want to engage with that.
And the whole like difficulty conversation in regards to like Souls games is often around the idea of there being essential fairness, right? So whenever you die, it feels like, you're getting good, but every death is like a learning experience. I'm not learning anything from these deaths. Nothing. Yeah. Nothing.
Yeah.
All I'm learning is that I simply don't have enough time to make these builds and min-max the way they are. That's all. I'm just learning that it's not fair.
But it's also boring. Like, when a meta is established, it stagnates.
Mm-hmm.
Because then people start using just that. And for PvP, I don't want to do that shit. No. I want to do like wacky ass, just experiment and have fun. I don't want to do some rigid shit. And the netcode of Elden Ring isn't very good.
It's absolutely
worse than Dark Souls 3.
Because we've obviously progressed since the last video. We've played the game more. We've got further and we've upgraded weapons and whatnot. So we're now getting to a level where if someone's invaded us, we're actually standing a fighting chance because we've leveled up more. And it's the amount of times I'm using I'm using a two-handed like greatsword or whatever. So my attacks are slow, and it's like I will be next to them and I will clearly hit them. Doesn't hit them.
No, we'll all be hitting them, but they'll like do a dodge, then heal to max again.
Yeah, because they've spent so long learning this.
But this is a problem with the design of Elden Ring for PvP, because there's no linear progression. Like Dark Souls 3, you had to do this, and this before you got this, and this.
Yeah.
Right? So when you're in the areas prior, you're a lower level, matching the people that are going to be invading you, so they have around the same amount of healing items as you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But because these people, min-maxing, are going around the map knowing where all like the healing items are, where all the sacred tears are, so they get more health back from healing, they go and collect all this shit, so they can invade and have like 6-7 flasks, whereas the host for us only has 6-7, right?
Yeah.
Which means us as like co-op players trying to 1v1 them, there's a huge power imbalance there. Because they can heal 6 times, I can heal
It's like the amount of
twice.
times where we've pretty much killed them, and it's just like, it's like 4 times we've almost killed them, they won, and it's just, fall up again.
Yeah, I think for PvP, healing should have a bigger penalty. It should make you slower and it should take longer. Purely in PvP.
And there should be a timer.
Absolutely.
That is the main thing. Alex solved everything, in my opinion, there with the invasions.
With the timer. But would people who like doing the like dueling not find that frustrating?
The dueling you can opt into. If you go to a place where people want to duel,
You put your sign down to be
Yeah.
yeah, you put a red sign down so you can be summoned into their world.
with the intention of fighting.
Yeah.
That's very different to someone forcibly putting themselves in your game to fuck with you. So having a timer on that puts pressure on them to get their deed done. But it gives you time knowing
And
that
I
if I can fight, I can win this by a time.
Yeah, there needs to be some sort of motivation for aggression. Because when you're... I feel like if you're playtesting this shit, right? It's like, okay, for this playtest, do some PvP. You invade somebody's world. Like, if you're playtesting, you're not going to be like, I know, I'm just going to sit on the top of an elevator.
It incentivizes cowardice.
Yeah. It incentivizes being a twat.
Yeah. There was one more in this chain that's probably the most annoying comment of them all, to be honest. You literally can't get endgame levels and loot matched up against beginners. You won't have level 10s matched against level 100s ever under any circumstances. Having an opinion is fair and all, but Jesus, what you're talking about literally isn't possible. It's mysterious how they founded such an opinion based on nothing.
Based on our direct experiences of getting insta-killed.
But we're not, when we say endgame, it might be slightly exaggerated. It's not like the last boss's boss weapon.
Yeah, but this is.
I mean, they're going out into the world and getting this shit because
the
they know
weapons
where it is.
they use. It's like it's a fantasy game, right? Obviously, the lower level weapons are going to look like so generic fancy stuff. If they've got this wacky, crazy looking sword, it's not going to be early game.
Yeah, and
that is just how
stat
Dark Souls
requirements
is.
for a bunch of the stuff we're being killed by is nuts.
Yeah,
Like we physically can't get to that point yet.
yeah.
Unless we sacrifice leveling up everything apart from just that. Right? So these people are making builds. They must know how the system works. I don't know the level gaps. Like how that works. So
Well, we can wrap up this video with there was one more big comment, like a essay warning here at the top of the comment. Elden Ring discussion, explanation, response, rant thingy, essay warning. So originally in Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1, the intent was very much to have people interacting solely with strangers. There was no kind of password matchmaking. It was added in first as a half measure in Dark Souls 2, and then fully in Dark Souls 3 because it was a frequently requested feature. Specifically because playing with your friends was such a massive hassle due to the level and weapon upgrade requirements. The trade-off is that it's now possible to summon insanely over-level people to play the game for you. One of the worst parts of Elden Ring's multiplayer is the fact that it's now very rare for invaders to invade the world of a solo host. This isn't how it was in previous games. In Dark Souls 3, for example, every player would enter the Embedded Online Enabled state every time they killed a boss, and there was no way to turn it off without dying, but it also gave you a massive health boost. Because this isn't a thing in Elden Ring, and invaders basically only ever invade groups of 2 or more, you have to use an item to be invaded solo. It is highly incentivized to use every single dirty trick in the book to even have a small chance of victory. This leads to people twinking, playing until late game without leveling or upgrading weapons specifically to be able to invade at low levels with fucked up gear, which was an issue in the previous games but is exponentially worse here. The game actually does stop high level people with max weapons from normally interacting with low level players, but there are ways to circumvent that, for example passwords. You might invade a world with a host that is level 30 and a fold finger that is level 500. This naturally leads to monumental amounts of toxicity and salt, both on the part of invaders who face nigh insurmountable odds and co-oppers who get trounced by people running flawlessly min-max insta-kill builds. I'm not actually 100% certain on how the invasion bracket works in this game, I haven't looked into it, and I don't think the research is conclusive yet. But in Dark Souls 3 the way it worked was that you can invade someone slightly lower in level to you or someone higher level in a certain bound, and only if the highest weapon level either of you had was within a range of 2 within each other, so someone with a +3 weapon could fight anyone from +1 to +5. Another issue is what feels like the complete removal of the invasion timer. See, in previous Souls games, defeating an invader or being killed by one meant that you could not be invaded again for a set amount of time unless you did specific things to reset the timer, like invading someone else, or specifically opting in with an item that removes the invasion timer. In Elden Ring, this has been removed. Either you will never be invaded, or you'll be invaded constantly. There's no occasional being invaded unexpectedly like in previous games. It stopped being an oh shit type surprise element, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I don't think From properly considered the effect it would have. A big change in the way PvP functions is how badly backstabs have been nerfed. The way Dark Souls 3 implemented them was, in my opinion, far superior, with a pretty intricate double check on both clients' side that made weird lag stabs far, far less common than in Dark Souls 1, but also made backstabs fairly easy to do against people who weren't guarding against them at all. It's now impossible to get a backstab in Elden Ring. I've only managed it about once or twice. I don't know what exactly they changed, but about 90% of the time the animation will simply whiff entirely. The removal of most true combos is also, in my opinion, a bad decision. It's true that their inclusion in previous games did encourage just spamming the attack button with faster weapons, but heavier weapons have had their entire moveset reduced to almost unusable in most situations, with almost all interactions in melee range boiling down to a single crouched R1s or jumping heavy attacks, followed by running away, or worse, the spamming of highly damaging fast Ashes of War like Moonveil or fucking Rivers of Blood, which are only really countered by either ranged battle or parrying. Gone are the days of carefully dancing between each other's blows and retaliating. Now it's poking at each other every 15 seconds or bum rushing with kamikaze attacks. We had a kamikaze guy run in and explode us. The lethality of almost every attack is through the roof, with damage numbers usually being 100 to 200 points higher than they were in Dark Souls 3. The maximum amount of health a character can have has been buffed to compensate, but only in the sense that soft caps have been raised greatly. In Dark Souls 3, the point at which leveling Vigor, the HP stat, stopped being worth it was around 30 or 35. In Elden Ring, it's about 50 to 60. Basically, every build is a glass cannon because of just how damaging attacks are, and that's assuming you're min-maxing. If you're not, you're just glass. Also, Jim, ganking more classically refers to only summoning. Sorry, not only to summoning, but summoning for the specific purpose of just killing invaders repeatedly and not progressing in the game, using really cheap tactics like killing every enemy in the entire area first, resummoning constantly, hanging out near a bonfire with no enemies so the invader can use the level to their advantage, and just overall being extremely unfun to deal with. The term has been completely diluted, unfortunately to the point that I've seen some hosts complain about being ganked by invaders, which don't misunderstand was and is certainly possible in certain conditions, but is so rare you basically have to opt into it. Elden Ring's highly unbalanced against invaders, assuming that both the invader and the invaded are of equal skill or metagaming to the same extent, so someone inexperienced invading someone inexperienced, or an invader using every trick in the book against the host using every trick in the book. The funny thing is, Elden Ring isn't quite as unbalanced against the invader as Dark Souls 3, due to the removal of Seed of Giants tree and the Ember health boost, but it's still pretty bad. You don't see it that way because you're not dickheads that metagame and abuse the mechanics to their breaking point, so I definitely see why you see invaders as being scum, because they definitely can be, but only because the game encourages it. There's also no reason to invade other than for the gameplay satisfaction of fighting another player, but there basically is none because of how absurdly unbalanced the game is. This is the primary reason I find myself just not engaging with the invasion mechanics. I try to be a good sport, doing things like bowing to the host or invader, not healing unless the enemy heals first, things like that. This is all behavior I learned from Dark Souls 3, and was usually reciprocated in the game, but for whatever reason it just isn't in Elden Ring, maybe due to a large influx of players or the aforementioned mechanical changes. Feels like invasions are a completely begrudging addition at this point, just because From thinks people will be mad if they're removed, which I suppose I'd be a bit peeved, but it's no loss if it's going to be this awful. P.S. The emote elitism anecdote is really funny. The specific emote Jim used is tied to a meme in the community. It's like basically the equivalent of telling someone to go F themselves, usually meant in jest. The fact that this guy took it so seriously as to re-invade and then send hate mail shows a ton of insecurity. Dude should have just taken the L, lol. Bear. Whoa.
Yeah, I agree with everything this dude just said.
He seems to know how it works.
That term twinking was something I was trying to remember.
So that's like, I've heard ganking, but I've not heard that.
No, twinking is how invaders work around ganking. And it's what we were talking about, where they go and get later game stuff
To
without leveling up.
circumvent the system that's in
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
But the thing is, all this stuff is saying it's meant to be imbalanced, right? You can only be invaded when you've used an item for co-op, right? So it's saying, like, you shouldn't be at an advantage if you're invading. So if you're invading, I think there's a moral onus on you as the invader to not take the piss.
Be better.
Yeah, be better, but like role play as an AI invader, right? Make it fucking fair.
Yeah, what are you putting on the line? You know?
Yeah.
What are you actually putting on the line? Whereas the whoever's been invaded, everything's on the line.
Everything.
Everything. Their real life is on the line.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is, Invasions will never be as good as Dark Souls 3. It peaked.
Why?
Because of everything this dude just said. It felt better. Like, the netcode genuinely felt better.
Well, yeah, I was thinking that it's probably just a case of the game being so huge, and they've had to, like, prioritize things to work. Why would they prioritize this system in terms of, like, perfecting it, you know? When there's already so much they've got to figure out and get working in an open world format. Of course this shit ain't gonna work.
Yeah, I don't know how you could make it work where, like, it functions as originally envisioned in Demon Souls and Dark Souls. Because every single From game has had the same problem. Of, like, invaders. There is, like, people that tie their ego to winning invasions. It's the same when you win a game of Apex or Fortnite or fucking COD or whatever. It's like an ego boost when you win. So then you're gonna do everything you can to win. You know?
Especially if, like, the commenter was saying it's incentivized. Like,
yeah.
Mechanically.
Yeah, mechanically it is. Because when you're the player, you're the main character. And you want your guy to be the best and win. Right?
But you're not the best in win if you invade low-level areas.
Yeah.
To make yourself feel better.
The thing is, as well, like, in the lore of the Souls games, of Bloodborne, of Elden Ring, whatever, any FromSoft game, invaders are scum. If you invade, you're doing a shitty thing. And it's meant to be that way. So don't get angry when people call you scum. There's so much cooperation in From games. Right? There's, like, just even taking the time to write a message in-game. Right? You get a minor health, like, regen when someone likes your message. But you're going to get most of your likes, like, when you ain't even doing anything. Right? So you're only doing it to help people. Right? And co-oping. Like, let me solo her. He's just doing it to help.
He's helping though, that's the difference.
What are invaders doing?
Being a nuisance.
They are forcing people to engage with a facet of the game that a lot of people don't even want to fucking bother with.
That's the thing, like, the comment getting upset about me calling them a loser or whatever. It's not a word I really throw around that heavily. Like, go back through all the Jarcasts. You're not going to find me saying that. But I mean it for this one.
And you know what? Dark Souls players have a reputation in general
that precedes them, for sure.
And how long did it take before we had a player with some certain slurs in their name?
Yeah, we've seen N-words, we've seen, like, Nazi references. Yeah, there's all sorts like that.
That is actually his name.
Yeah, like, straight up.
Why? I hope he gets run over by a car. It's like there's like an overlap, like, between.
Yeah, if you invade, you are hard right.
It's like because when we get invaded, because there's been times when we've been invaded by the same person, we've started to block them. If we get invaded, we're just blocking them because they're obviously camping that area, doing this specific job. You start to see things, And that's one thing is anime. Lots of anime. There's a lot of them have anime.
Oh, you mean when you're looking at their Steam profile picture to block them? Yeah.
It's like the overlap is anime and fascism. It's like they're the two things they like.
But that's an overlap in and of itself. Anime and fashion.
Yeah, just look on Twitter.
As you said yesterday.
But obviously not every Dark Souls player is a fascist. Or
no,
likes
only
anime.
the invaders.
Only invaders.
Yeah, they're the fascists.
So, yeah, it's like I'm not surprised Dark Souls players have like a reputation when we're experiencing it, and it's like, oh, nice.
It makes me miss Dark Souls 3 though. It genuinely does, because the state of PvP at the moment in Elden Ring is not good.
But do you think it's even something they're going to address, or it's just not a concern?
No, they're too busy making anime games. From Software are going to be roped in to make anime adaptations.
Good.
Evangelion, Dark Souls.
We can just make the Berserk game.
No, they should actually just make a Berserk game. Elden Ring is just Berserk anyway.
Elden Ring is Berserk, but worse. Genuinely, don't even buy Elden Ring.
Yeah, don't buy. Go play Apex Legends. It's free.
Yeah, play Apex. Play Star Wars, Return of the Jedi. Or
no, don't play Apex Legends. Play Apex Legends Mobile.
Yeah, there's exclusive Legends.
Yeah.
We'll catch you next time on this Dark Souls rant.
Fuck you.
Dickheads invaders.
Yeah.
Go fucking touch some grass, will you?
Will ya?
Meow?